Well, that's a wrap on the season, folks. I mean, in a way, I'm kind of relieved, given I think we were all kind of over the season about halfway through the year, maybe for some of you even earlier than that. So in a way, it'll be kind of nice to just put this season behind us, forget about it. But at the same time, after seeing the Bulls pull off that incredible comeback against the Raptors, and with the way things were looking in this game where the Bulls really had the momentum going into the fourth quarter, yeah, I wanted it to happen. I wanted to see the Bulls in the playoffs. I know it would have meant just getting beat by the Bucks in the first round, but seeing your team compete in the playoffs is something I'll always take over losing out on it. And man, this was a winnable game. It really was. The Bulls just flat out could not execute in those final minutes, not scoring a single field goal in the final 3:47. The Heat closed out the game on a 27-10 run. The shots weren't falling for the Bulls. They were committing silly fouls that led to free throws for the Heat to take the lead up even further. The officiating was pretty questionable, let's be real. But at the end of it, the Bulls were just committing bad fouls. Zach Lavine, after missing a layup, fouls Jimmy Butler on the rebound, which was unnecessary. I know Caruso said he didn't foul Max Strus on that three-point attempt, but he actually did. That really sealed the deal. Once that foul was called, you knew the game was over. And boy, did we need DR? We needed DR DeRozan. I still can't believe they didn't have her come out. The Heat had 32 free throws tonight. They made 28 of them. Only 4 missed free throws when you compare that to the Raptors missing 18. Given how close the game was until about the final minute, could have used some additional missed free throws, but either way, it wasn't meant to be. Give the Miami Heat credit though. I mean, for a team that was under quite a bit of pressure, on the brink of elimination as the 7th seed, they had a really bad game against the Hawks. They could have come out slumping, lack of confidence, but no, they played hard, they kept battling, and even when the momentum started shifting in favor of the Bulls in the second half, they persevered. The other thing I'll say is this, and then I'll get into some of the particulars of this game and things that went wrong. The Bulls played well in this game, with the exception of the final 3 minutes. And I know some will say, well, that's all that matters. You have to play the whole 48 minutes well. But the Bulls really did leave it all on the court tonight. I mean, both teams were playing incredibly hard. The defense on both sides was top-notch. It was very rare for players to see open looks in this game. And for the Bulls, a team who has kind of just been taking the approach throughout this season of, we'll turn it on when we want, not playing with a lot of effort and emotion, not always giving it 100%. They fought in this one. And for me, I've said it so many times, you guys are probably getting sick of me saying it, that's all I want to see as a fan. I want to see them play like they actually give a damn. I'm fine with them losing a hard-fought battle if you give it your all on the court. And the Bulls really did do that tonight. I know they faltered in those final minutes, didn't get the best shots up, made some bad decisions on defense and committing fouls, but it wasn't for a lack of trying. That being said, where did things go wrong? Well, it starts with the Bulls letting killer Max Strus go off on you, especially to start the game when he hit, 4 3-pointers in the first 5 minutes? That can't happen. And then Jimmy Butler, who had a pretty bad game the other night against the Hawks, didn't have a great first half, completely turned it on in the second. He turned into playoff Jimmy, one of the most clutch players in the NBA. He lives for these moments. He took over and the Bulls couldn't find a way to stop him. Bulls also didn't shoot the ball very well, although neither team did really. It was a high-level defensive game. That's why you saw guys missing a lot of shots with the limited looks they had at the basket. Bulls 8 for 28 from 3 though. They didn't shoot it from deep in that first playing game very well, and this came to bite them in the second one, and really has been the case for them all season long. Zach Lavine 0 for 6 from 3. Patrick Beverley 0 for 3. Had 0 points, by the way, and was kind of a non-factor, which leads me into the other aspect of this game that went wrong. Billy Donovan subbing out Coby White, who was the only guy giving you some offense in those final minutes, was 4 for 6 from 3. Billy Donovan subbed him out for Patrick Williams, a guy who had 0 points. Billy Donovan was asked about this in his post-game interview, and of course, very typical Billy response. I like what I saw from Coby. I kept him in for a while, but I also have confidence in Patrick Beverley to hit those shots. I don't know why, but sometimes I listen to Billy Donovan's interviews and just think, this guy doesn't really sound smart at all. I'm not saying it's all the time, but sometimes I'm just like, this guy doesn't really get it. Either way, yeah, questionable decision, especially in a big game like this when the game is that close. Now, some of you were messaging me on Twitter saying you need to rip Billy Donovan in this post-game video, and yes, bad call in taking out Coby, and he really was outcoached in those final minutes, but really the Bulls played well in these 2 playing games. His defensive schemes worked, he outcoached Nick Nurse, which was a surprise, and he was keeping up with Spo for the most part in this one. Yeah, I hear you, Billy Donovan is not a good coach. He's mid at best. You're not going to win a championship with Billy Donovan. I've said that from the get-go when they first hired him. It's why I didn't like the hire. Yes, this roster was poorly constructed, that's on the front office. Yes, the players could have played better, played harder throughout the year, but there's also something to be said that you saw a team that had the talent that they have on their roster and then finished 10th in the Eastern Conference and missed the playoffs. Like, some of that is on coaching. So yeah, I could sit here and rip into Billy Donovan, but we already know that he's not the right coach for this job. But what can you do? The front office gave him an extension this past offseason. He's not going anywhere. Still can't believe they offered him that extension, but whatever, it is what it is. And then the other thing that went wrong, or things I should say, Zach Lavine had a bad game, which is unfortunate after seeing him come off such a great game against the Raptors, showing up in a big moment, silencing all the haters, to then following up with this performance, 6 for 21, 0 for 6 from 3, 5 turnovers, one of the worst games for him this season, especially in it being a big game like this. Granted, the Heat's defense, I mean, they were all over Zach Lavine. They knew they needed to stop him after having the kind of game he had against the Raptors. But there were also just some bad shots by Zach, a few open looks that didn't go down, and even the same goes for DeMar as well. He was more efficient than Lavine was tonight, but also just, those questionable shots where he takes a deep mid-range jumper in isolation without setting up a play when the game is tied in the fourth quarter. I just scratch my head with those sometimes, and we've seen a lot of that this year. When those shots are going down, it's great, but when he's missing them, it leads to empty possessions and the opposing team taking advantage of it as a result. Patrick Williams was also a non-factor for the Bulls in this one. 17 minutes, 2 points, wasn't as aggressive as we saw him in that game against the Raptors. I mean, really, the only two bright spots from this game were Coby White and Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso actually got himself a season high, 16 points, was 4 for 8 from 3. He actually had the Bulls, first 12 points. And of course, he was getting it done on defense, as he always does. Fouling that 3-point shooter, though, that was costly, that hurt. And then Coby White out there trying to earn his extension. He just might actually get it. Too bad his coach benched him in those final minutes, but played 31 minutes, was knocking down his shots, 4 for 6 from 3, hit 3 threes in the fourth quarter alone. Not only that, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal and a block. Solid outing for Coby in a high pressure moment too. Oh, and actually Andre Drummond was great as well, coming off the bench, giving some energy, crashing the boards, putting it back up for an M1. 10 minutes, 6 points, and 8 rebounds. Would have liked to see him getting more minutes, as he was bringing considerable more energy than Vucevic was. But anyway, look, the season is over. We can complain about all the things that went wrong, the frustrating losses, the blown leads, but for now it's time to look toward the offseason and all the changes that need to be made, or at least we hope there will be some big changes. Otherwise, we might have to start a riot to get this front office to move away from their strategy of continuity. I'll obviously keep putting out content with videos on, what some of these changes should actually look like, but the next big date to mark on your calendars, May 16th. That's when we'll have the draft lottery. Bulls have an 8% chance of keeping their pick if it lands in the top 4, and a 1.7% chance of getting the number 1 pick. We're going to need a miracle from the basketball gods on that day. I might have to have a live stream while that's happening. We'll see. Also, yes, the Bulls season is over, and even though I'll still be putting out content on this channel, I also have my NBA channel, M1 Hoops, if you want to see more content outside of just the Bulls. Link to that is in the description. Until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.